Today we are going to talk about reducers combination. So, the most common shape of Redux app is a plain JavaScript object containing slices of domain specific data at each top level key. Similarly, the most common approach to writing reducer logic for that state shape is to have slice reducer function, each with the same state and action signature. So because this pattern is so common, Redux provides the combineReducers utility to implement this behavior. So that we are going to do today. It is an example of high order reducer which takes an object full of slice reducer function and returns a new reducer function. So inside our reducer.js, we are going to export the default reducer which has a state of 0 and an action. Similarly, we are going to create two more reducers and we are going to add them in this file. They will be named first named reducer and second name reducer. Remember, here while exporting them, we will be using the const keyword. So I'm just copying this line and I will just rename them and add const instead of default. So the statement will be export const first named reducer. It will have a state equal to 1 and an action which is assigned to the state. So this is pretty much what we are going to have in our reducer.js. CombinedReducer takes an object full of slice reducer functions and create a function that outputs a corresponding state object with the same keys. This means that if no preloaded state is provided to create store, the naming of the keys in the input slice reducer object will define the naming of the keys in the output state object. Now we are going to create another file which is named rootReducer.js. The correlation between these names is not always apparent, especially when using ES6 features such as default module export and object literal shorthand. So inside our root reducer.js, we will import combineReducers and create store from Redux. Here we will be using our ES6 object literal shorthand with combineReducers. Next, we are going to import the default reducer, the first named reducer and the second named reducer from our reducer.js. CombinedReducers is simply a utility function to simplify the most common use case when writing Redux reducers. So instead of default, we are going to write const for first name reducer and second name reducer. Now coming back to our root reducers, we are going to import the three of our reducers inside it, and then we are going to use ES6 object literal shorthand syntax to define the object state. While Redux itself is not opinionated about how your state is organized, combineReducers enforces several rules to help users avoid common errors. Now we are going to create our const that is named rootReducer, and here we will assign it to the combineReducers. The combineReducers has three arguments, that is all of our reducers inside that. So the first one will be the default reducer, the next will be first name reducer and also second name reducer. Lastly, we are going to use the create store and we will create const store which is assigned to create store. Create store takes root reducer as its argument, and we will do a console.log so that we can see what is our output. So for that, we will write the statement of console.log. Inside that, we will call store.getState. the two ways to define the initial shape and content of the store's state is first is create store function can take preloaded state as its second argument. This is primarily intended for initializing the store with state that was previously persisted everywhere. The other way is for the root reducer to return the initial value when the state argument is undefined. Now inside our main index.js file, we will import the root reducer from the rootReducer.js file, which is inside our store folder. So that's it. Now we will save all our code and we are going to see. I have just added an h1 tag and an h2 tag which says combineReducers. We will go to the console and I will refresh my page. So this is the required output which shows all our three reducers and the states which we have assigned them. So that's it for today. Thank you.